Namaskar, viewers and listeners of the great game Reloaded. I am Tilak Devasher. On the volatile Pak-Afghan frontier, a fragile ceasefire hangs by a thread, with rising tensions threatening to undo it. A region that has seen more firing in the past month than in the last 2 years. There was an exchange of fire between Afghan and Pak forces along the Chaman border late on 5th December. Both sides accused the other of initiating the incident. There are different versions of fatalities from 0 to 5 on the Afghan side, and at least 3 civilians were injured on the Pak side and 5 on the Afghan side. Earlier, tensions arose due to Pakistan bombing civilian areas in Afghanistan's Gurbaz district of Khost province on the intervening night of 24th and 25th November, killing 10 people, including 9 children. The strikes also targeted border regions of Kunar and Paktika. Taliban condemned the attacks, directly accusing Pakistan and warning it will respond appropriately at the right time. Pakistan has, however, denied carrying out the attack. Earlier, on 24th November, there was a suicide attack on the Federal Constabulary FC headquarters in Peshawar that killed 3 paramilitary personnel and injured 12 more. Pakistan accused the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, of terrorism. Let's rewind a bit. The present round of clashes began after Pakistan, without provocation, bombed Kabul in early October, trying to target Nur Wali Masood, head of the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and a Pak national. Afghanistan retaliated all along the Durand Line. That's when Qatar and Turkey stepped in. 3 rounds of talks between Pakistan and Afghanistan to hammer out a peace deal and end border tensions were hosted by them. The first round was hosted by Qatar in Doha and the next 2 by Turkey in Istanbul. The talks, however, failed to reach a solution except a tenuous ceasefire. What the talks revealed was that the crisis was deeper than a ceasefire and more complicated than a military standoff. Pakistan says Afghanistan is sheltering terrorists. Afghanistan says Pakistan is violating its sovereignty. Both say they want peace. Both accuse the other of bad faith, and both refuse to blink. So what really happened during the peace talks? The core issue during the talks was the TTP. The militant movement Pakistan considers its biggest internal threat. The group that Pakistan can't control or deal with despite such a large army. Thus, Pakistan took the easy route, accusing Afghanistan of allowing it to operate freely inside Afghanistan. Its one-point agenda in the talks was stop the TTP, stop cross-border militant movement, and create a verifiable monitoring mechanism. Afghanistan says the TTP is not sheltered in its territory. Instead, Afghanistan wants Pakistan to talk directly with the TTP since it is a Pakistani group. Islamabad said no. It had tried this earlier and failed. Since the TTP was a Pak organization, Afghanistan was perplexed that Pakistan wanted them to host the TTP, an organization that Pakistan labeled as terrorists. Afghanistan had another agenda point. It asked Pakistan to respect its sovereignty, stop drone strikes inside Afghan territory, and not dictate Afghanistan's security policies. And then came the bombshell. While Pakistan was accusing the Taliban of double dealing, it was also quietly allowing US drones to use its airspace to strike targets inside Afghanistan. Under pressure, Pakistan admitted that there is an agreement with the United States and it was not in a position to turn this down. Afghanistan, as well as Qatar and Turkey, were shocked that Islamabad couldn't stop the drone strikes because the agreement with Washington was binding. The differing agendas deepened distrust. not the best environment for peace. By the end, there was no deal. What emerged instead was a phrase, tactical calm. Not peace, not resolution, but a pause. Now there has been another round of Pakistani attacks, killing Afghan civilians. So the moot question is, why is it so hard for Pakistan and the Taliban to find common ground despite sharing the same religion, geography, history, culture and language? 3 reasons, all structural. Reason 1, the Taliban's worldview has changed. The Taliban of 2025 is not the Taliban of the 1990s. Back then, they relied heavily, if not solely, on Pakistan. Today, they rely on themselves. Their political identity depends on proving they are not under Pakistan's influence. Being seen to cooperate too closely with Pakistan hurts them politically at home. Their statement from the talks reflected this. They said they met Pakistan as equals. They rejected Pakistani diktat. This is a psychological shift, and Islamabad underestimated it. Reason 2, Pakistan wants guarantees Afghanistan cannot enforce. Pakistan wants the Taliban to crack down on the TTP. But the Taliban cannot do so because the TTP is a Pakistani organization and its members are Pakistani citizens. Moreover, the tribals now grouped as the TTP had helped the Taliban when they needed it most after the US attack in 2001 and under the prompting of the Pakistan Army. Yes, it was the Pakistan Army that had requested the tribal groups to shelter the Taliban. Now the TTP needs help. Under the Pashtun code, Pashtunwali, the Taliban are obliged to provide sanctuary to the TTP. If they don't, they would be called Bagairat or without honor, possibly the worst slur for a Pashtun. Reason 3, both sides are fighting shadows. Pakistan accuses India of using Afghan soil to destabilize Pakistan. Pakistani ministers raise this repeatedly, but no proof is ever presented. Afghanistan believes Pakistan wants to pressure Kabul into political submission and is also fronting for the US that has set its eyes on the Bagram air base.
We were going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way.
Whether these beliefs are true is secondary. In diplomacy, perception shapes policy. Turkey and Qatar have stakes too. Turkey wants to be the region's broker. The Istanbul talks allowed Ankara to position itself as the mediator of the Muslim world. It gives Turkey diplomatic relevance at a moment when it seeks to balance Russia, the Gulf, and Europe. Qatar's role is even more interesting. Qatar hosted the Taliban for years. It mediated the US-Taliban negotiations. It now wants to continue positioning itself as the Taliban's only reliable interlocutor. For both Turkey and Qatar, successful mediation enhances their global standing, especially in the Islamic world, without military cost. Meanwhile, Turkey is not giving up. 3 top Turkish officials are due in Islamabad to further discuss tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Then came a surprise. US President Donald Trump said he could quote-unquote quickly solve the Pakistan-Afghanistan conflict. He said he knew both sides well. He praised Shehbaz Sharif and Asim Munir. He called them quote-unquote great people. Washington has 3 motives. 1. Prevent another conflict. The US does not want instability near Central Asia. Then, rebuild leverage in the region. After the Afghanistan withdrawal, the US lost influence in Kabul. Mediating talks gives it a foot back in the door and perhaps access to Bagram. Finally, counterbalance China. If Pakistan drifts too far towards Beijing, Washington loses a key regional lever. So yes, the US wants mediation, not for peace alone, but for strategy. Amid all this diplomacy, trade between Pakistan and Afghanistan has been suspended for over a month. Hundreds of trucks filled with goods have been stuck at border crossings like Chaman, Torkham, Angur Adda and Gulam Khan. Food is rotting. Local economies are collapsing. So the Taliban have taken the bull by the horns. Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs of Afghanistan, Mullah Baradar, has recently urged Afghan traders to reduce business with Pakistan and find other routes. He urged them to end decades of dependence on Pakistan, saying the country must, quote, chart its own trade destiny, unquote. The move aims to protect Afghanistan's dignity and safeguard trade and industry rights, since Pakistan shuts down the border trading posts frequently and unilaterally. Traders have also been instructed to redirect imports that currently come from Pakistan to alternative markets and countries. Apart from that, all medicines would now have to be imported from other countries. A 3-month deadline has been set to establish alternative trade routes. Meanwhile, traders in Pakistan have urged the government to open border points as it is, quote, causing severe disruption to the supply chain of perishable goods, unquote. The closure has rendered thousands of laborers jobless and inflicted heavy financial losses on both traders and the national exchequer. There is a feeling that Pakistan would suffer more if Afghanistan stopped trade with the country. A dangerous situation is also developing because Pakistan seems to be weighing its options after it claimed investigations revealed that the suicide bombers behind the recent attack in Islamabad and Wana were Afghan nationals. This will certainly further strain the already fraught relationship between Pakistan and the Taliban regime. So where does the crisis go from here? The fact of the matter is that Pakistan needs stability on its western border because it cannot afford tensions on two fronts, east and west. Afghanistan has 5 other neighbors, the borders with all of whom are peaceful. So, Pakistan will have to make the first move. It will have to accept Afghanistan as a sovereign country and stop reminiscing about when they nurtured the Taliban. For too long, military leaders in Islamabad have portrayed Afghanistan as its play area and the Taliban its loyal followers. For decades, Pakistan called Afghanistan its strategic depth. They need a reality check. Afghans are first and foremost Afghans and nationalists. They will not do anyone's bidding. The question is no longer whether Pakistan and Afghanistan can solve their issues. The question is whether they can prevent their issues from becoming everyone else's problems. The next few weeks will be critical. Will the guns remain silent or will the tenuous ceasefire break? In any case, peace is not just the silence of guns. Peace is the presence of trust, and that's missing. This is a developing situation. In a forthcoming episode, I will revert to the Pak-Afghan situation, including how Pakistan is trying for regime change in Afghanistan using dissident proxies, and try to look for answers if Afghanistan has slipped out of Pakistan's influence for good, as well as the India-Afghan breakthrough. Do keep viewing. I am Tilak Devasher. Thank you for watching. Do like, share and comment. Namaskar and Jai Hind.